This lesson shows what is a pivot table, and the next one how to create it. The worksheet for this lecture is named Sales Listing and is part of the workbook Pivot Tables and has a collection of data formally defined as a table. Let's find out its name. Focus inside the table, Design tab, Table name, Sales Listing. Now let's understand the structure of this table. The first three fields are relative to the date. The first is the date itself, followed by the year, which value is extracted from the date by a function with the same name. Instead of the cell reference, this function's argument is the name of the field, which is assumed automatically due to the structured referencing. And so it is with the column month, but with a difference. This text function returns the full name of the month, having as arguments the date field and the formatting code. Remember, in customized formatting code, 4ems returns the full name of the month. The next two fields are branch and region. Branches take the name of the city where the store is placed. Then we have the client name and three fields regarding the product name, the product family, and the cost price. Then there are more four columns regarding the sale itself: the selling price, the quantity, the total cost, and the total amount of the sale. Finally, the last column is the gross profit returned by each sale. This table has more than 3,000 records, but it could be bigger. Regarding any collection of data, its value resides in the analytics out of it. You can have millions of records, but if you can't summarize them, then that information isn't so valuable. For instance, you may want to analyze the sales amount per store and product family and compare them. You may need to analyze the evolution of the sales along the time, or to analyze not only the total amount, but the average. There is plenty of possibilities for analyzing this information, and with pivot tables, it becomes much simpler and quicker. The pivot table worksheet shows an example of what is it. The table is structured by branches, the rows, and products, the columns, being the numeric values, the sales amount, and there are grand totals per branch and product. This table was created by Excel according to the given configuration, placed at the right of the worksheet. So Excel processed the data and produced this reconfigurable table. Let's modify the configuration. Product family as rows, branches as columns, remove product, and values as average. The pivot table is reconfigured and the calculations were updated automatically. Or branches as rows again and product family as column. Pivot tables reconfigured and calculations redone accordingly. This worksheet was there just for showing what is a pivot table, but now it can be removed and a new one will be created from the scratch. Right-click on the worksheet name, delete, delete. Now it's time to create a pivot table from the scratch. Place the focus inside the table, Insert tab, Tables Group, Pivot Table. It opens the window Create Pivot Table. The data collection to be processed is already defined. Since this table has a name, this is what's referred to instead of the cell's reference. Being defined formally as a table, each range will be kept always updated, whether it gets or loses rows. There is another way for launching this window. Let's try it. Design tab. Within the Tools group, click on Summarize with Pivot Table. The same window opens. Let's understand the options present in this window. Use an external data source. Essentially, this is for selecting a connection to a DBMS, database management system, such as Microsoft Access, SQL Server Database, Oracle, MySQL, previously configured in Get External Data, for which your IT department or provider should supply the respective parameters. The placement of the pivot table, new worksheet or within an existing one. Our choice is new, the default option. Add this data to the data model, related to Power Query, a subject for a specific lecture. OK. A new worksheet is created with a pivot table in a raw state, yet to be configured. It's up to the user to do it, since this is a tool for customizing the analysis of data. You analyze the data the way you want. The worksheet shows the pivot table with no field. For setting up this pivot table, there is a tab on the right side for attributing fields and filters. This tab, named Pivot Table Fields, contains the list of the fields and boxes for placing the fields in the pivot table areas: filter, columns, rows, and values. Before attributing the fields, let's have a look at an example to be replicated. The example shows a table with the product families on the columns and the branches on the rows, being the numeric values of the total sale. Let's place these fields on the boxes. Product family on the columns area. You can see that pivot table now shows the product families on the columns. Branch on the rows box. The pivot table shows the branches on the rows. The total sale goes to the values box. And now the pivot table is structured accordingly to the given example. The numeric values have a currency format. Let's do this modification. At the right tab in the box values, open the sum of total options. Value fields settings. Change the name for sales total. Click on number format. Custom. Apply a currency format codification. OK. OK. The pivot table is completed according to the given example. The example image can be removed. Delete. Throughout this section, we are going to deepen this feature of the pivot table. Let's rename the worksheet. Rename Sales Pivot Table. Enter. And move it. A pivot table has internal filters, one for the columns and another for the rows. Let's try them. Open Column Labels filter. Hide Printer and Mouse. OK. Open Row Labels filter. Apply label filters. Begin with D. OK. Data filtered with internal filters of the columns and rows. Let's bring back all data. Select all. OK. Row labels filter, label filters, clear filter. External filters can be applied to a pivot table by placing fields in the respective box of the Pivot Table Fields tab. Drag the Year field to the Filters box. At the top left corner of the worksheet, the Year field is placed as a filter. Open it and select 2020. OK. The year 2020 was selected, and now the values shown in the table are just of this year. Multiple items can be selected. Select multiple items, 2018, 2019, now these 3 years. Values in the table are automatically updated to this subset of data regarding the selected years. Let's replace all data. All. OK. These are the basics of pivot tables. In the next lectures, we'll deepen them. We'll meet there. Thank you for your attendance.